everybody, my name is Hannah Carmona Diaz and I am a children's book author. Oh, hello Chewy.
This is Chewy, my writing partner here.
I am the author of Beautiful, Wonderful, Strong Little Me, which came out September 2018, and Dazzling Travis, which comes out April 1st, 2019. I am so excited, and that is my cat.
This is the madness that I write in.
I was also crazy enough to film this while my children were awake, so if you hear screaming or something breaking, don't worry about it. I am so excited to talk to you guys about my writer process, and here's my other cat. Everybody's just drawn to you guys. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about my writer process and kind of what works for me when crafting a children's book. Before I dive into this video, I just want to give a little disclaimer that this is my process and this is what works for me. So pick and choose and take what you think is going to work for you and the type of lifestyle that you live and the type of books that you want to craft. Without further ado, let's jump right in. So one of the first misconceptions I think happen when people think of writing a children's book is that they're so short that we can just write them in like 1 week, right? That like we get this idea, we sit down and an hour later we're like, boom, the perfect children's book. At least for me, that's not how it works. Yes, maybe I can sit down and type out the entire book in one sitting because, you know, it's under 1,000 words and most of us can type 1,000 words in about an hour or two. But then when it gets into polishing and editing those words, that's where the work comes in and where the long haul comes in. I would say on average it takes me about 1 to 3 months to finish a children's book, depending on how rough the idea was when I began. So the first thing that I do is I have to be able to tell myself the story. I have found if I can't run the story over and over and over in my head, then when I actually sit down at my computer, I get really bad writer's block and I get really frustrated, and then that's where ideas die. And I write one line and it's like the perfect line and I'm like, I have no idea where this story is going to go. I personally do not write down any sort of plotting. My process is just simply being able to tell myself the story in my head from beginning to end. Sometimes that process can take 2 months. I'll think of an idea and I just marinate with the idea for 2 months, and it doesn't seem like I'm writing or doing anything for that time, but really I'm working on the story process in my head. Number 2, the second thing that does help me out a lot is even though I may not go in and technically write out a draft or write out characters or do anything like that, is that I do make a Pinterest board for my books. And as I think of little ideas in my head, or as I think I know where the story is going to go, I'll go on Pinterest and I might just pin an image that reminds me of my story. A lot of writers do aesthetics. I've personally never done an aesthetic or anything like that for any of my picture books. It just, again, it's not something that works for me. I think of a quote that's really inspiring me for my book, not even necessarily a quote that I'm going to put in my book, but that just seems to fit the theme. I'll also pin that as well. Number 3, when I do finally sit down to write my picture book, what I have found works best for me is if I write it by hand first, which I know sounds crazy for a lot of people, but it really takes away the pressure. When I sit at my keyboard, I feel this immense amount of pressure, like every word that comes out of me has to be this great literary work of fiction. That's not the case. When I sit down and write it by hand, it kind of feels like I'm journaling and it feels like less pressure. I'll do a couple drafts like this. With my last book, I did 4 drafts by hand until I finally decided that this is the draft that I then want to go into my computer and type. I forgot what step I'm on, so I'm just going to insert whatever step this is down here. I think it's number 4, but I'm not sure. After I've typed it onto my computer, I again just let the story marinate. I get this great sense of accomplishment and I celebrate. I think that's one thing a lot of writers we forget to do, is we forget to celebrate the little things. And one thing that's really kept me motivated this entire writerly process is that I celebrate everything. I will celebrate getting a new idea. I will celebrate the first time I write down that idea. I will celebrate doing a pin on my Pinterest board for that idea. And so especially after I have written a draft that I look at and go, hey, this is a pretty decent idea. I think I can work with this. I will celebrate. Celebrating can be as simple as buying a pack of Twizzlers or allowing myself to binge watch a show for the weekend. So find what little celebration works for you and definitely celebrate after this step. Next, After I have marinated a little bit, I will go back into my computer, and that's when I'll probably do about 3 or 4 more drafts of my picture book. That's right, even though it is under 1,000 words, I still end up having done about 10 to 20 drafts. I heard this great quote by the author of the Ramona series where she said that she's not a great writer, she's a great rewriter, and that resonated with me so much because that is exactly how I feel throughout this whole process. I have to go in and I have to revise, and I have to revise multiple times. If I get stuck, that is when I will send it to an editor. And I have 2 editors that I really like to work with for my children's picture books. I do not currently have a critique partner. It is not something that works with my lifestyle right now, just because I have 2 kids and I cannot always get out of the house and make it to critique groups. I have tried exchanging stuff online, but even then I don't always have time to necessarily read somebody else's manuscript and give them feedback in a timely manner. So for me, it's easier just to pay an editor, especially because they are focused in on my book. And I can be completely selfish with their time because I'm paying for it. And so right now that's what works, especially for me with picture books. After I have sent it to an editor, I will then look at After I have sent it to an editor, I will then go in and I will see what edits are going to work for my story and what edits I feel are really going to bring it to the next level. After I have done that, I again let the story marinate a little bit, and then my final step comes in where I send it to a family member. And I know they say do not send your books to your family members to critique. I don't know. My family is extremely honest with me. I'm telling you, it's a great final step, at least for me, because they will straight up tell me, this is not your best work. Or, yeah, I read the first sentence and then I didn't read anything else because I was bored. And so that is currently what works for me and how I made these 2 book babies right here. Just remember that each book baby is going to be a little different, and it's okay to adapt your approach according to what each book needs. Books are kind of like kids, you know? Some things are going to work the same for each project, other things are going to have to tweak and change around. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this, I hope you will consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. I do all sorts of videos, writerly, motherhood, lifestyle, the whole shebang. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of Write On Con. I absolutely love this writer convention. I think it is the best thing, especially for us writer parents. And I will see y'all later. Goodbye.